Two. Hi, welcome to this new episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Mood, with my normal co-host Hunter, and today we're going to be recapping a wild week of MLB free agency, NFL free agency, some Ravens and Steelers stuff, and maybe we'll get to Virginia Tech basketball. But if we don't get to it today, we'll get to it next week. There's just a lot of ground to cover in the first two topics. So let's start with the first one, which is MLB free agency. Let's start with the most recent one, which is Carlos Correa, 3 years, 105 mil to the Twins.
Broke it up 1:30 in the morning. By the way, you were probably sound asleep. I was up to see it. I think that was a move that shocked you, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, the short term deal, yes. The 40 plus, no, sorry, the short term deal, no. The 40 plus, no. The Twins, yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Going to Minnesota, because usually, they're not really contending, right, Adit? I don't really think so, really.
I think what helps is they play in the AL Central. Like in the AL East, they're probably a last place team. AL West, they're probably a third place team. AL Central, they can be a second place team, I guess.
Okay. So I guess, I mean, the deal does, I think you texted me this and I saw last night, opt-outs after the first 2 years. Would not be surprised if he opts out after this season. Yeah, honestly, man, I think he might.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and once you finish your thoughts, I'll explain why he's definitely going to opt out. Like that's unless he has a bad year. But can you is that all your thoughts with the Correa stuff?
It was just a weird. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was just a weird just team that he chose because there were so many interesting teams. Obviously, the Orioles were throwing out an offer. Houston thought they were going to get him back. I think I saw Boston was in on him, if I'm not mistaken.
For the short term, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I see the news that he's going to Minnesota. I'm like, wait, what? There must have been like a sleeper team for him or something. I guess they're going to try to maybe compete this year because of the new playoff format with the new CBA with the 12 teams. And if I recall correctly as well, didn't Minnesota just make the playoffs a couple of years ago?
Yeah,
before?
A couple years ago, lost to the Yankees.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can understand why they want to try to go for it again with the new expanded format. It's just, I feel like they're only going to get 1 year out of him before he tries to cash out again.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Carlos Correa switched agents. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this is a very relevant point to this whole discussion. If you switch agents and you sign a multi-year deal, both your old and new agent will get a share of the contract. So Carlos Correa, apparently, so the writer that broke the news that the Orioles were interested in Carlos Correa reported today that he reported the offer that they gave him was 10 years, $350 million. I'll get to why the Orioles didn't get him, because you would think, oh, that's what Correa is looking for. But the problem is, if Carlos Correa signed that contract, Scott Boras, his new agent, who does not like to share commissions, especially if it's 10 years, $350 million, he would have had to share a commission with William and Morris, who was Correa's old agency. So that was the biggest. So that's the reason why when you're saying it's a 1 year deal, and even though it says 3, the idea is that because this contract was negotiated with Scott Boras and not negotiated with the old agent, Scott Boras gets the commission off this contract, and then Correa, he can then opt out and then go to next year's free agency where the top free agents are going to be Trey Turner, who's more than likely going to stay with the Dodgers.
Yes.
You got Aaron Judge and Jacob deGrom, who's going to opt out. And then maybe Xander Bogaerts. And then Dansby Swanson. Those are your top free agents next year. So he's going to cash in on that. Now, that's why I think it's a 1 year deal. For the Twins, like I said, they're in the AL Central, so they can compete. But they are looking a lot like it's kind of like the situation with the Angels a couple years ago, where they have all these bats and no pitching. And when we get to the Phillies with their moves, all the bats, not too much pitching. So I don't know if they can compete, especially with the White Sox. The Tigers have a really good rotation. They brought in Javi Baez. Mm-hmm. They have a couple of nice prospects that could make their debuts this year, and Spencer Torkelson. So I don't know if the Twins can compete. I think this is more so of there's an opportunity for them to compete in a weaker division. I don't think they'll be good, I think they might make it, but they'll lose in the first round. But even if they're terrible, Carlos Correa is going to be a solid trade piece for in the future, for a trade deadline. So that's the other kind of reason why they're doing it. Now, before I get to the Orioles' perspective, I just have to point this out. The Yankees. So the Yankees were in the shortstop market. Okay,
go ahead. I know where you're going with this.
They were in the shortstop market. So basically, and granted, we know that they might have to pay Aaron Judge, but they were in the shortstop market, and basically what they did was they traded Urshela and Gary Sanchez to the Twins for a 36-year-old Josh Donaldson, and they're paying the remaining $50 million. He's getting owed $50 million from the Yankees for the next 2 years. And he's not the same Josh Donaldson he was a few years ago. But so they're paying. He's your third baseman, and then they got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa closer to Didi Gregorius than he is a Correa. And why is that point relevant? Because the Yankees taking Donaldson's contract freed up a large amount of money for the Twins, and with the CBT tax going up by $20 million or something in that range, that gave them enough money to give an offer to Carlos Correa. The same offer that the Yankees could have matched. So the Yankee fans wanted Carlos Correa, but the reason why they didn't get Carlos Correa was because they traded for a 36-year-old Josh Donaldson, and they owe him $50 million, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's a nice piece, but he's not a stud shortstop. And by the way, you don't know if Volpe and Oswaldo Peraza are going to be good. So they basically said I have no idea what they were thinking. In fact, I was actually thinking that when the Padres were shopping Eric Hosmer and Will Myers, like half of my mind was thinking, oh, I would not be surprised if the Yankees traded for Eric Hosmer and Will Myers. It would not surprise me, because I don't understand the decision making. They don't have pitching. They lost. They basically, it was a galaxy brain idea. I don't understand that part, but and then to make matters worse, they go ahead. They lose out on Freddie Freeman, Carlos Correa, Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, and by the way, we're going to be talking about the A's a little bit later.
In other words, you're just saying that the Yankees just suck.
Oh, no. I'm just saying the Yankees confuse me, because they have all these potential guys, and it's like they're not getting Freeman. Even if they don't get Freeman, they can get Matt Olson. Oh, they're not getting Matt Olson. Oh, they got Rizzo, right? But it's like they're not getting Chapman, who's a solid player. They Trevor Story might not go to the Yankees. If it's not Trevor Story, then you have Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas from the A's. We don't know if the Yankees are trading for them. They're rumored that they want to trade for one of those guys. We don't know if Oakland's going to try to get one of their top prospects. And again, prospects are prospects until they prove something. So it's just really weird. So so that's from the Yankees' perspective. The Orioles' perspective, I'll make this quick. The Orioles, I'm not mad that the Orioles missed out on Correa, because the Orioles cannot give a 1-year opt-out. And the reason they can't give an opt-out for 1 year is because they are a rebuilding team. Correa is meant to be a part of their long-term future. And the fact is, Correa is going to be searching for a long-term contract after this year anyway. So if he is looking for a long-term future and no opt-outs, then the Orioles can go after him after this year. I don't know if they will, but they can. But they can now go and at least they can go and say, hey, in 2021, we offered you a 10-year deal. So it can so now they have planted the seed. It's got board saying, hey, we're willing to give your client all this money in all these years, but we know that right now you're looking for something different, but within a year, you're looking for exactly what we offer you at the start. So it could be interesting, that especially if the Orioles get close to about 70 wins, 65, 68 wins, where the Tigers were. The Orioles could be a team that makes a big move, so keep that in mind. But and then let me just go over some of the other moves. You had the Freddie Freeman go to the Dodgers, Castellanos go to the Phillies, Kris Bryant.
Probably, that lineup might be one of the best lineups I've ever seen.
Phillies?
Him, Muncy,
Bellinger,
Bellinger, Turner. You want to keep going?
Oh my god, yeah, there's a lot.
Keep going. That's four of them. I know you can. What? Justin Turner.
Turner, Muncy, Trey Turner. Muncy, Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger. I can't remember who. The guy who looks like Flack. Chris Taylor.
Yeah, Chris Taylor. Good luck, everybody. Go on. Goodbye. I mean, that's just if they don't win the World Series this year. I mean, what's going on?
And the Phillies lineup isn't bad as well, but it's very front loaded. But they have, like you said, they have no pitching, so I don't know how much Castellanos and Schwarber are really going to help that team.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Phillies, so they're a believe it until I see it kind of team. I mean, they've had Bryce Harper for a few years now, just won the MVP, but they start out fine, but then they just like totally choke towards the end. So I'll be curious to see what they do. But man, the Dodgers are just they're nuts. I saw the Braves. They were the ones that got Olsen
and Jansen.
Yeah. So the Braves they're going all in again, obviously, and Olsen I think got an 8-year, $168 million extension, if that number sounds right. The A's. I mean, Billy Beane is just fire sailing over here. I don't really think they're probably.
There's a thought. Here's a question though, because we've been talking about fans have been talking about like teams like the Orioles having a fire sale, Pirates not trying, like the Marlins not trying.
Who's not trying? The Reds.
Yeah, we'll get to the Reds in a second. But I do want to ask this question regarding the A's. But the A's have never really the A's and Rays have been these teams that are operating like small market teams, but they're winning all these games. But so we don't really put those two teams with the other teams that are not tanking, or they act like small market teams and lose. But here's the question I have: do you think Bob Melvin is kind of like that barrier that they're for Oakland? Because Bob Melvin's a really good manager and he manages his team for wins, but take away Bob Melvin and they're just operating. Or do you think that if they start Bob Melvin is the difference between us viewing the A's closer to the Rays or A's closer to the Diamondbacks, the Pirates, or the Orioles in the way that they're operating?
I feel like the latter right now, at least, because they're just dumping a lot of salary, and obviously some of their best players. So I'm not really sure what the plan is there. I guess they want to restock again. They've been a playoff team a lot recently, right? I mean,
that's my point. Bob Melvin is now with the Padres. So Mark Hoxley, I know, is their manager. So I wonder if they start losing, do we start so I guess that was the question. Do we start looking at the A's like you said, I think you answered yes to this, as the Diamondbacks or the
I feel like so, because you said Bob Melvin's not there anymore, and he was the one that coached them or managed them to 95 win seasons. They've won the AL West. They've played in the wild card games in recent years too. So they've been contending. It's just they've never been able to get over the hump because even though they have good players, their payroll is still pretty low. And I know they try to be like the Rays a lot, and they're not a big money spending team like the Yankees or the Dodgers or some of these other teams. But they've been in contention a lot. But right now, without Bob Melvin there, I feel like they are going to trend towards a team like the Diamondbacks, and obviously a team right now that's probably, I think, honestly tanking next year is the Reds. I don't think they're going to trend as close to them, but I mean, I don't know what the hell the plan is for the Reds, because I'm pretty positive they made the playoffs last year, and I think they did. I'm pretty positive about that. Very recent. I'm pretty positive they did, and now they traded two of their best players away, and they're I don't really know what the plan is up there. I think they're just
being. Was the last time they made the playoffs. They lost in the wild.
What was it?
2020 was the last time they made the playoffs.
Okay, so it wasn't last year then.
No, it wasn't, but it was pretty close.
So 2 years removed from making the playoffs. You're not that good last year, but okay, fresh start going into this year, and you're going to dump all this salary for the sake of it? I just don't know what the plan is there. I don't know if they're fully rebuilding, or I don't know.
When you have an owner that's worth $400 million and he's the cheapest owner, he's the owner with the lowest market value. Yeah, it kind of makes sense if they're tanking. With the Reds, I have no idea what they're doing. Like, they got some good prospects back. I'll give them credit there. But at the same time, you lost Sonny Gray. You lost Amir Garrett. You lost Suarez.
Yep.
You lost Winker. And then I'm surprised Luis Castillo's still there. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Luis Castillo's gone. I mean, here's the thing: as an Orioles fan, I was waiting for these articles. I was reading these articles. Are the Orioles bad for baseball? Right? And at least the Orioles recognized that they had an issue and they tried to fix it. And unfortunately, the issue was so systemic that they had to be this bad because they had other issues other than the major league roster. The Reds make all these trades. No idea what they're doing, and we don't hear anything about how the Reds are bad for baseball. In fact, you can make an argument that what the Rockies are doing, what the heck are the Rockies thinking? Because the Rockies signed Nolan Arenado to a long-term deal. Remember that a few years ago? They tried to trade him for 2 straight years. When they traded him, they sent $50 million to the Cardinals. They didn't get back a good return. Then the whole trade deadline last year happened. And what happened there? Oh, we're not trading Trevor Story because we're going to extend a qualifying offer. We're not going to trade John Gray. We're going to extend a qualifying offer. And maybe a little bit of it was we're scared of people criticizing the return of the Trevor Story trade after what we did with Nolan Arenado. Then what happened in the offseason when it started? No qualifying offer for Trevor Story. No qualifying offer for John Gray. No attempt to re-sign these guys.
No one is still signing Story, right? He's still a free agent?
Yeah, well, yeah. So allegedly with Trevor Story, he's had multiple 9-figure deals, but what the problem with him is he wants to play shortstop. He does not want to play second. He does not want to play third. So the teams that are going after him, like the Red Sox, Xander Bogart wants to stick at short, and the Red Sox want to put Trevor Story at second. And so now more likely, I think the Astros go after him because they have a need. I know Jeremy Pena is a pretty good player, but Trevor Story the Astros would probably rather have Trevor Story for a year and then let Jeremy Pena have the job next year. But he wants to play short. That's kind of the reason why he's been unsigned. And part of it could also be Correa's market, whether Correa takes a long-term deal or takes a short-term deal. So obviously with Correa signing the short-term deal, Trevor Story might sign a short-term deal as well. So that's basically the hold-up with him. But yeah, like we talked about the Kris Bryant stuff. I do want to bring up this point with Freddie Freeman. Freddie apparently they didn't tell him that Matt Olson they traded for Matt Olson, and he didn't get he wasn't in contact with the Braves.
Really?
No, like the Braves contacted him twice in the entire offseason.
That's effed up for someone that's been there for a decade and was your franchise for that long and just had a hell of a season that led you to your first championship in almost 3 decades, basically. That's really crappy.
Yeah, no, and then because here's the thing, I was listening to a radio show, and the guy said, "Look, all you have to do is tell Freddie Freeman, look, it's hard for us to say this, but you're not in our future plans if you want 6 years or something like that. That's all you have to do." Apparently they didn't even say that to him. So I mean, Matt Olson's from Atlanta. That's why he was fine signing that contract. And honestly, Atlanta's probably better off next few years with Matt Olson because I think Matt Olson is a better player for this contract than Freddie Freeman would have been because Freddie Freeman's like 5 years older than Matt Olson. So it makes sense to go with Matt Olson. I just thought it was a really bad way of disrespecting Freddie Freeman. It's like if the Nationals disrespected Zimmerman, it's like if the Steelers disrespected Ben Roethlisberger, all that stuff. It's like that's the thing. That's what's messed up. Yeah. And the Braves, I mean, their bullpen is just absolutely deadly now. That bullpen is just unfair. I mean, you thought that bullpen was brutal to hit against last year. Well, now they brought in Colin McHugh and Kenley Jansen.
Can't wait to face that team about 15, 18 times a year.
Yep. And then what was your reaction to the Mets landing Chris Bassett in a
I was
trade?
surprised, but Steve Cohen's going all in. I think he probably has a mandate that he has a roster that's ready to win. They have a pretty good pitching rotation. Hitting wise, they have a very good lineup. But you know what, Eddie? I want them to LOL Mets this because it's the Mets. So I'll believe it when I see it with that team. They've been banged up a lot. They have a tendency to just, choke stuff away, I think is the best way to say it. So, on paper, they look good. They may challenge, honestly, Atlanta for the division, but until they do, who knows? I don't really like Steve Cohen. I think he's kind of a schmuck, to be honest with you.
Yep.
It's gonna be weird seeing Max Scherzer there. That's for damn sure. I hope Nationals fans really don't boo him. To be honest, it's his choice that he signed there. We didn't trade him or anything. But it makes them a hell of a lot better team now, and they're definitely on paper a playoff team. But let's see if they can prove it in the season.
Speaking of a playoff team, I mean the Blue Jays just look like a really good team now. I mean that lineup. I mean you have Matt Chapman. Like here's the thing. Matt Chapman, Bichette. You got Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr., George Springer, Randall Grichuk. I mean, that's a dang good lineup. And then now your rotation, this is just absolutely brutal. Hyun-Jin Ryu, Kevin Gausman, and a few other. They have some. That was and then.
They may challenge for the division. They may be able to take the division next year.
Yeah. And then you have, and I think who are the guy? And then the Cubs signing Seiya Suzuki. Whatever. Like the Cubs are whatever there. So.
Our funniest one, the Rockies signed Kris Bryant. What is the plan out there? Oh, you had Nolan Arenado. Oh, not there anymore. Oh, we're going to go sign a worse version of him in Kris Bryant and pay him a lot of money. Oh, could have done that to Nolan Arenado and made him gave him a lot of money. I don't know what that team is doing.
No, and I think that's the biggest problem. Like people crap on the Orioles so much. Like I'm going to say it again. Like they crap on the Orioles for tanking and everything else, but at least the Orioles recognize they had a problem and they try to fix it. Like the Rockies, they are like they're in the middle. Like they should rebuild, but I guess they're scared of the perception of tanking, which, again, we don't know what tanking is going to look like with this new CBA. I mean, we're seeing the Reds and we're seeing Oakland, so that's the start. So tanking is still going to don't get me wrong, tanking will still happen. It's just going to look differently. It's going to 100% look differently. So no matter what you do with the CBA, tanking is going to look differently. So let's move on to the NFL free agency, also chaotic. I mean, Deshaun Watson. Let's talk about some of the biggest stories.
Yeah, obviously Deshaun Watson to Cleveland. Basically a stunner. It looked like they were out of it. Baker Mayfield, it was just a whole circus there. But he circled back and decided he wanted to go there over both New Orleans and Atlanta. It looked like those were the two finalists. And he said, nope, he liked apparently the Browns roster better, which is weird, I guess, because he's like, I like the roster. I'm like, okay, they have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Okay, good running backs. Amari Cooper at wide receiver. But who else is on that offense? Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku,
Anthony Schwartz.
I mean, they literally have one good wide receiver. And sure, this is a very loaded draft class for receivers. I'm sure they are going to address that in the draft. But, Jarvis Landry's not there anymore. Odell Beckham Jr. is not there anymore. Defensively, they have Miles.
Not there anymore.
Who you said?
J.C. Treader, their center.
Yeah, he's not there anymore either.
Hooper.
Defensively, Austin Hooper. Yeah, he's gone too. Myles Garrett's really the only great defensive player they have. I mean, Denzel Ward's okay. But, I mean, sure, Watson's going to make them a better team. But, I mean, they just don't have, a lot of weapons out there. They gave him $230 million guaranteed. That's ridiculous. Good luck signing anyone in free agency. I know the Steelers don't really do that anyway. I know this year's an outlier, but they didn't give Ben Roethlisberger that kind of money. $230 million guaranteed. That's just insane for someone that's still, 22 civil cases against him, and you're giving him that kind of money. That just goes to show that I don't think the, teams give a crap about what he's going through or the league. But, it also, it's going to be funny if Browns fans are hypocrites now about how they trashed Big Ben for a decade, and now you're going to go defend this guy. So,
and Kareem Hunt.
Yep. And it's just, again, both are really shitty. I'm not going to sit here and say one is obviously way worse than the other. Both are obviously very bad. But, I'm just not going to stand for people being hypocritical about, one. And then now
hypocritical as well, because Calvin Ridley, look, Calvin Ridley did something stupid. He should have brought in a proxy to bet on football games for him, because he literally can do everything else but bet on football games. So I'm not blaming him. I'm not condoning that part. But at the same time, he bets on a parlay and loses. He's suspended indefinitely for at least the entire season. By the way, a sport in which they are profiting off betting. So let's keep that in mind. And you're going to justify, and I really want to see the NFL try to potentially justify not giving Deshaun Watson a 6 to 8 game suspension.
He will. He has to get suspended for 6 to 8 games. And if he is, and I think he will be, Cleveland's probably screwed those 6 to 8 games. We're going to start Case Keenum. I mean, good luck. But
and also,
a suspension is coming. If Ben Roethlisberger got one, so will Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but my point was more so of how can you justify suspending Calvin Ridley for a year for betting when you are putting money in DraftKings? I mean, let's be honest here. The NFL runs just as many DraftKings NFL betting type commercials as much as Shaq misses free throws per game. Let's keep that in mind, okay? So they're a little hypocritical there. Devontae Adams going to the Raiders, I don't understand that one at all. You pay Aaron Rodgers all that money, and you lose Devontae Adams. Can you make sense of that?
I have a hard time. How does Aaron Rodgers go back if he knew Devontae Adams was going to be traded? That's just a weird decision. I feel like, I get maybe he's in better standing with the organization. Definitely seems that way. They gave him a really nice contract. They're all in with him, but you franchise tagged Adams. Okay. You have until July to work out a long-term deal. You're telling me in 4 months' time, you're not going to be able to work out that deal, and the Raiders can do it in basically 5 seconds after they acquire him? I don't know. I did read that it sounds like Adams wanted to be a Raider. He did not. What did you say?
Derek Carr with his college quarterback.
Yeah. So I think he wanted out of Green Bay. So even if they maybe were trying to discuss a long-term contract extension, there's always a chance that I think Adams just said, no, I'm not going to play on the tag. I don't want to be signed an extension. So just trade me. And I guess that probably, trade talks intensified. Green Bay got two firsts back, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
they'll be able to get his replacement in the draft in a deep, heavy class. But also, man, they got to go out and sign a receiver. Jarvis Landry is out there. That is a very attractable option for him, is to go catch passes in a number 1, number 2 role from Aaron Rodgers. Their offense right now is him and Aaron Jones. I do not think I can name any other wide. Randall Cobb, I guess. But
other free agent, Lazard's a free agent. I believe those two are free agents. So, I mean, Robert Tonyan, I don't know where his future. I don't know if he's a free agent or not. I mean, you got Aaron Jones, and then you have A.J. Dillon. But
I just don't know how they expect to compete next year without Adams. The guy had almost 1,600 yards receiving last season, right around 10, 11 touchdowns. This was probably, I think, his best season in the league. And you're just going to trade him. And obviously they probably have a plan, but you don't just replace that production overnight.
Yeah, and the
AFC West today, the AFC West continues to be a gauntlet. Good luck with those 4 teams playing each other.
Yeah, and then maybe you have that whole – maybe the the Packers take Drake London in the first round? Maybe, but let's be honest here. The Packers have picked 9 defensive players out of 10 in the first round in each of the last 10 years. That one offensive player, what is Jordan Love, who has no trade value right now. So, do I trust them to take a receiver or an offensive lineman or anyone on the offense? No, I don't trust them. They're more than likely going to take an edge rusher, or they're going to take Jordan Davis, or they're going to take another cornerback, because that's what they've shown the last few years, and that's what I think they're going to do. So, the Packers, I have no idea. Let's move on to the next subject. This is the Ravens and Steelers part of it. So the Ravens, they made some good moves. They went out and got Marcus Williams to a 5-year, $70 million deal, which is $14 million. Marcus Williams is the 7th highest paid corner, free safety. But he is what the Ravens have been missing. Like, the analogy I like to use is our secondary last year was full of, well, when healthy, if it was healthy, it would have been full of corner outfielders, right? And what they were missing is a center fielder, and that's what Marcus Williams is. And when you have Marcus Peters who's a risk taker. The problem is you got Deshaun Elliott now. You previously had Deshaun Elliott backing up Marcus Peters. That's not a good matchup in case Marcus Peters it's wrong, right? But now you got Marcus Williams backing up Marcus Peters. And so Chuck Clark can now play in the box. That's a good move for him. And then they went out and got Morgan Moses, the big tackle, a big right tackle. He was on the Washington team for a few years. Then he was on the Jets. Pretty good guy. Apparently he's from the area, so he wanted to play there. They had a deal with Zadarius Smith, but apparently Adam Schefter jumped the gun because they didn't actually agree on a deal, I guess. I think it was they didn't agree on a deal. So he said that
I was having too much fun with that on Twitter. I was kind of laughing at them for this and that.
Yeah. No, but it was actually it was close to a verbal agreement, but it wasn't like, oh, we have a verbal agreement, now come to Baltimore and sign it. It was, okay, we like the structure, let's change a few things, that type of thing. And then the next day it came out that, oh yeah, the deal was off, but then people were saying that the deal was never verbally completed. It was like they were reaching close to it, and then the interpretation was it was a verbal agreement. But but people were saying that because you got to think about it. He signs that contract, and then Chandler Jones and Von Miller signed their contracts. And it's like, wait, I can get more. So that happened there. The Ravens then rebounded by signing Michael Pierce to a 3-year, $16 million deal. So they replaced one former Raven with another. So I like they got some help on the defensive line. Bobby Wagner is still available. I think he would be a great help for Mike McDonald, the first-time defense coordinator. He would be a great help for Patrick Queen. And then now you have that. Now you got to deal with the edge. And then offensive line, Bozeman signed a 1-year deal with the Panthers. The Ravens are not in position to do a 1-year deal. That's why you're seeing these 3-year deals where it's the second year. That's the biggest cap hits for some of these guys. So Treader could be a name to look out for. Whoever else. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if the Ravens get Treader at some point because the Cleveland did run some gap power schemes, so that's kind of what they did there. And then let's move on. And then I think, was there any other moves you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Steelers were just, I'm sure you saw they were just spending all their money. Kevin Colbert is really.
It was smart spending. I
think, yeah, the Steelers had a lot of really good moves. I mean, I think even you could say that, even though you're a Ravens guy.
We've been friends for a long time. Like, I've always complimented Steelers with the way they run things. Yeah, so I'll give credit to the Steelers if I need to.
2 big offensive lineman signings, Mason Cole and James Daniels. Daniels, I think, was probably the Bears' best offensive lineman. I know some people say that doesn't say much, but at the end of the day, he was. I think it was Pro Football Focus's 3rd best offensive lineman free agent.
He's really young, super versatile, and he can
play center or guard. which
Yeah.
is huge. They can go get another lineman, obviously, in the draft. They probably will, but it's still big that they were able to, go out and sign a couple linemen to really fill a couple of those holes. Kevin Colbert knew that was an issue. Going into next season, they want Najee Harris to actually be able to run the ball between the tackles and even outside the tackles. So that was big. Mitch Trubisky, I'm fine with it. I know the Steelers do not have the best quarterback in the division. Hell, I know they have the fourth best quarterback in the division. I'm not naive to think otherwise. I'm not stupid. Are they probably going to finish last next? Well, maybe will they finish last next year? There's probably a good chance, unless Cleveland, unless Deshaun Watson doesn't really do anything when he comes back from his likely suspension. The Steelers third or fourth. That's fine. They've had the best quarterback in the division for 15 of the last 18 years. However, do I think this is still a 500 team? Yes. Miles Jack, they just signed. That's a huge signing. Joe Schobert got released. Miles Jack is a much better player. Tackling machine, really good in coverage. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they signed him, is because he can be that line. It's like a very mini Ryan Shazier in a way. They haven't had a linebacker with that good pass coverage since Shazier was there, and they've been searching for that ever since he left. There's been a whole rotation ever since that awful, gruesome injury that really ended his career. So hopefully this time they got it right. And who knows? Next to Devin Bush obviously needs something to go his way going into next season. That I think could be a really good linebacker duo. That Levi Wallace, really smart signing. That's Joe Hayden's replacement. Very young, had a good year in Buffalo last year. Witherspoon is back. So your corners right now, Witherspoon, Wallace, Cam Sutton, maybe they'll add another one in the draft. Minka Fitzpatrick at free safety. Still need another strong safety. I want them to go out and sign the Honey Badger. That would be so much fun. I know he's a bit older now, but he can still really play. Terrell Edmonds is a free agent, so I'm not really sure if the Steelers are going to bring him back. If they can get to it back and Aluwalu back, I mean, this is probably a top 5 unit in the league. But I really think the Steelers next year, they're going to bank on their defense being top 5, having Najee Harris carry the bulk of the load in the running game, and Mitch Trubisky being good enough to where they can be at least 500 and then have a chance to be close to a wild card spot come playoff time. I think that's their goal. Trubisky is a bridge quarterback. He's probably not going to kill them. These are very smart.
Significantly make them better, but he won't make them significantly worse. He's just right for what they're trying to do. He's
getting $7 million a year. I think that's totally reasonable for how he plays. You're not paying top dollar. And, people have been saying, well, why are the Steelers so active in free agency? Well, they're not paying Ben Roethlisberger $40 million a year anymore. When you have to pay your quarterback, you're not as active in free agency. I think the Ravens are probably going to learn that too whenever Lamar Jackson gets his money.
Well, they're going to focus more on the draft. What they're going to do is they're going to focus more on the draft. And then
and that's what the Steelers will do.
Yeah, and then they're going to focus on keeping their own guys and then using free agency to find those guys that fill in the holes, which is pretty much what they've been doing, whether their quarterback's on a rookie deal or not, which it does annoy some of the Ravens fans out there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a mock draft. And I don't think neither of us expected this much activity from both of our teams. So I was just thinking about
not me.
No, I was just thinking about doing a mock draft last week because just based off rumors, but now we have a bunch of moves to kind of base our thing on. So
I think the Steelers trade up, by the way.
Let's just try to do this without the trade up. All right, so basically, I would. They did get their tackle. The Ravens did get Morgan Moses. So I'm not going to do that. Trevor Penning. I think there's not going to be value there. They did get a D line. They did go and get. Safety. But I think in this situation, I think they draft Andrew Booth Jr., the guy from Clemson. He's the guy who comes in. He is your backup to Marcus Peters. He's your backup to Marlon Humphrey. Cornerback's always an important position of need, so I'm going to go with him there. What do you think about the Steelers?
So right there, Malik Willis. It screams like it. If he's there, I think he's the pick,
All right.
100%. Honestly, don't
Oh,
rule
yeah.
out if they trade up for him.
Right.
But if he is there, and Trubisky, this is only a 2-year deal. Remember that. Doesn't make any money. He can sit behind him, learn the offense a bit, and then even after this year, say he stinks or something, they'll put him in. I would not be surprised if they try to get Willis and be aggressive.
All right, so this is interesting because Kenyon Green is still available in this situation. The Ravens could need help with the offensive line. This is a guy that can play multiple positions, but they at the same time they have Pat McCarry. Like they have Pat McCarry, who's a similar player. Not Howell. I already got my interior. So they right now. I don't know if they are going to go and get a linebacker in free agency. So I'm going to go with Chad Muma from Wyoming to kind of fill in the to kind of be
so
the.
I think for this pick, the Steelers are going to try to go get a receiver because Juju just left.
Right.
And there's
by the way, Juju Smith-Schuster now is going to be with.
I think
Pick.
Yeah, I know. God help me. I think Pickens makes a lot of sense. They were just at Georgia's pro day. I think they met with him.
Not David Bell.
David Bell. Yeah, he makes sense too. But they definitely need a burner. Claypool's good, obviously, when he's not being stupid. Deontay is obviously a good wide receiver, 1.5 to 2. But they need another guy there because they just lost 3 wide receivers. So I think one of Pickens or Bell. I'll just give me Pickens though. I think that's what they'll do.
Yeah. Okay. So this is not fast. Okay. So all right. So this one, the Ravens didn't. I don't think again another position that they didn't address in free agency, which is edge. Let's see. Drake Jackson. I think I saw Drake Jackson there. Drake Jackson pretty much is your Drake. Yeah, Walker is in there. Let me see. I think it's Drake Jackson. Yep. Okay, so Drake Jackson is your is kind of like an edge guy. Him and Odafe, that's scary on both sides. So I'm gonna go Drake Jackson. There we go. All right, let's see. So you had Malik Willis at quarterback, George Pickens at
I feel like here they're going to go defensive line.
So Mathis.
He would make sense because just in case Tua doesn't come back, they need insurance there. So I think that's definitely a team need, at least for me.
That would be scary though. Was Hayward and Mathis on that D line?
Be nasty.
All right, so the Ravens are here. They have a bunch of picks, so I'm not going to go offensive line just yet. I'm going to go Greg Dulcich, to be that third tight end, and then I'm going to follow that up with I got Ferguson. I got interior. Let me just look at interior. Let me take a look at what we have here. This page. North Carolina State. Actually, let me go receiver here. Anyone else here? Bo Melton. I'm gonna go Justin Ross here. He's a guy that's I think he's a little underrated, but I think you put him in his offense as the Miles Boykin replacement because I don't think Miles Boykin is going to be there. Then I'm going to go Brock Hoffman. I think he's a scheme fit for Virginia. I think he's a scheme fit. I think you pair him. Let's see. Another pick. Let's take a look. All right. So I got Brock Hoffman, Justin Ross, Dolchich. All right. So I think now I'm gonna go. If I can get the interior. Let me just get here. Position. I'm gonna go interior D line. I
wish I knew enough for like these later picks.
Yeah.
138. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think here they might do off. They'll go back to the offensive line. That's just my opinion. At least if you can just check that out real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to see who they've met with that, because usually they have like a pattern.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Yeah, I'm trying to see how
who they meet with.
Yeah.
What's going on? You having problems?
Yeah.
There you go. No, that's not it.
No, I try to figure. Okay.
He's having problems, guys.
Yeah, no, like I'm for some reason. Hold on. Yeah, let's see.
Come on.
Take this out.
You're embarrassing. You're embarrassing yourself right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure this.
Slow down.
Okay, I do not. Okay,
oh my goodness, what am I looking at?
There. Here. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Oh. Let's see if I can figure this out. But
come on. Oh well, I passed a couple. Oh, there's Aaron Frost. That's I mean, it's probably a little far down. I don't think they've met with that guy.
The Vidarian Lowe.
I don't think they've met with him either.
Zach Tom.
I'm looking.
Yeah, at this point, it's just really At this point, it's just.
I mean, they're not going to go out and get a running back. That's just not going to happen. I mean, Rosenthal, I guess. They usually love going to Kentucky's pro days, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's the pick. Cade Mays, that's obviously a good pick too. I wish I knew enough because they haven't done a lot of their pro days yet, but I do think they go back to the offensive line here.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Next time we'll do the I'll do the PFF one because So there's Letitia Smith. Do you think he's a fit?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna go Cade Mays.
Okay.
For that, and then
roll up. I can't see I can't see the list.
Yeah, right now at 119. That's basically where we start. This is all positions.
Okay.
All right, so here, I think they go receiver. Not a receiver. I think they go a running back. I think Kyron Williams is a good fit. And I think they pair that up with Munford. Let's see. Let me take a look at who the Ravens have. Mima. Okay, it's interior D-line, interior O-line. Okay, so if I treat Brock Hoffman as kind of a center-only prospect, Dyer Munford can kind of be the thing. And then all picks, let's take a look.
Yeah, the Steelers have a 6th-round pick somewhere in there. Oh.
All right, let's see. Josh Thompson, Tariq Carpenter. I think they go corner. Yeah, I think Ravens go corner. Let's see. You have a pick coming up soon. Is it just best player available at this point?
Yeah, I think best player available. I think honestly they could go corner. Honestly, Jermaine Waller would make some sense. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, I think Ravens are pretty much done. So we'll take a look at the draft. Yeah, next time I'm gonna see if I can do PFF one, because that's going to be pretty interesting next mock draft, whether it's PFF, because they do their own rankings. But yeah,
Yep.
so to recap, Ravens start off with Andrew Booth Jr. And then I go with Chad Muma to kind of starting to fill out the defense, the linebacker room. Drake Jackson gets drafted to be the edge rusher from to be outside of Dafe. And what was it? Then Greg Dulcich, he's your third tight end. Justin Ross is your Miles Boykin replacement. Brock Hoffman is your next center potentially. He's your like a center guard type guy. The Iowa State interior D line. They need some D line help, so we're gonna go there. Kieran Williams is your third running back. Dyer Munford is backup lineman who can kind of play all over. And then Kyler McMichael, another corner. And then you had Malik Willis, which is explanatory because you guys need a franchise quarterback. George Pickens to be your Juju replacement, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Fedarian Mathis from Warren Line. But yeah, so that's pretty much the mock draft part of it, and then let's just briefly talk about Virginia Tech basketball. Obviously, we had that big win against Duke, first ACC title in school history. But then we lost against Texas. Look, Texas, they were really accurate, and we couldn't make, and we weren't able to make.
When a team that's 243rd in the country in three-pointers comes in and shoots close to 60%, there's not much you can do. Defensively, watching them makes me feel like I'm watching the Devil's Trap from the 90s. But you know what? It was effective, and they shut down our offense better than I think any other team did this year. It was just they got hot in the second half, and there's really, honestly, nothing they can do, man.
Yep. And next week we might have some more news, but it'll be. I'm going to think about what we need to talk about next week because I don't think that next week is going to be as hectic as this week was.
I don't think so either.
But it'll be pretty interesting. Opening day is going to start pretty soon. What are we at? What are we at? 3 weeks or no? 2 weeks? 2.5 weeks?
2-3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, so at some point, the week before the season starts, I think what we're going to do is I think it'd be pretty cool if we do like a preview. We'll start, I think next week, what we could do next week is we could do like a preview of the teams in baseball and what we think. And then we can talk a little bit March Madness, seeing some of the previewing some of the matchups there. And then the following week, we can talk about, if it's before the season, we could talk about Orioles, Nationals, see what we expect, because we don't expect too much from our teams this year, but there are some things we might be looking for. Who are some trade pieces and all that stuff? Oh, yeah. What were your thoughts on Nelson Cruz? I forgot to mention that.
Say that again?
What were your thoughts on Nelson Cruz going to the Nationals?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a great signing. If the team is bad by the time the trade deadline comes, they can probably get a pretty decent prospect back for him. I'm sure he's going to have a good year as the DH. So really excited to see him on the team, and they brought Sean Doolittle back too, so it's almost like the whole 2019 team is just getting back together for just shits and gigs, basically.
Yeah, and I just and for people saying that, oh, we want to see pitchers hit, Patrick Corbin had the best quote. Basically, Patrick Corbin said, because he saw Nelson Cruz hit, it's like, yeah, people are gonna have more fun seeing Nelson Cruz hit than me. So
yeah, he's funny, man.
Yeah, so we'll end the show there. Next week we'll be on the same time. We'll find what to talk about because it might be just a preview. But yeah, we'll see you next week around 3:00.
Yep, we'll be back next week.